and they were desperate. And so in their desperation, then they cried out to the Lord. And so many of us here either have been or are in a place of desperation. And we're going to talk about desperation in just a bit. But know this, sometimes the very best thing that can ever happen to you in your life is to get to that place of desperation, where there is nothing on this earth that can save you. Because it is in that moment that we call out to the Lord. It's in that moment. It's not in the good moment when it's all good. Hallelujah! I'm probably not calling out to Jesus. But when I'm desperate, I am all in. I'm all into where my help comes from. And it's real then. So the best place for us to be oftentimes is in our moment of desperation, because that is when the Lord shows up to do his thing. And when the people of Israel cried out to the Lord, that was the moment when the Lord anointed, appointed, and he called forth my girl Deborah. And so let's talk about her. Now Deborah, a prophet, the wife of Lapidith, was leading Israel at that time. She held court under the palm of Deborah between Raman and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim. And the Israelites went up to her to have their disputes decided. She sent for Barak, son of Abinoam, from Kadesh in Naphtali, and she said to him, "The Lord, the God of Israel, commands you, go take 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun and lead them up to Mount Tabor. I will lead Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his troops to the Kishon River and get him into your hands." A couple observations. Deborah's found under a palm tree. To my point earlier, she's not hanging out in the temple. She is not the senior pastor. She is not a priest. But she is a prophetess and a judge. And she is a leader. The people go seek her out. The people are going to talk to my girl under the palm tree outside. So, I mean, obviously she is an amazing leader, probably has great charisma. I mean, I'm inferring that, I don't know that. But if I had to go leave the city to go out to find Deborah under a palm tree, I'm guessing that she was something. And that's where the people went to find her. And now, here's the other thing. And this is what I love about her. She's kind of a piece of work. So she goes up to the lead military commander. It's almost like the Joint Chiefs of Staff or whoever, like some bigwig in the military, and she kind of pokes at him. She's like, "Excuse me! The Lord has told you to go do this thing." So she confronts that military leader at that time, and she exhorts him to do what God commanded Barak to do. Go do what the Lord told you to do, Barak. So I would say, I think it takes a little moxie to do that. Like not anybody's going to go up to somebody like that and say, I think you need to go do what the Lord told you to do. But she did. She had the anointing of God. She also had tremendous faith, and we'll talk about that again. So Barak, the amazing Barak, says to her, "If you will go with me, I will go. But if you don't go with me, I won't go." Like, what? Okay, what man do we know who is a soldier who would be like, "Little woman, I'm not going to go, but Kristen, if you'll come with me into the battle, then I'll go." So, Barak is not a super inspiring character in this story. His name means lightning, shockingly. But let's be honest, I don't think Barak's going to make it into the Warrior Hall of Fame. Lightning Barak! No, I'm not seeing that. I don't think we're going to be having a party for Barak. So he's not an impressive man. He's not our prototype knight in shining armor kind of guy. He's not a great example, perhaps, of a strong warrior. But remember, these people have been oppressed for 20 years. Again and again and again. Oppressed, physically threatened, crushed. It's hard to stand up and beat your warrior chest if you're worried about having your head chopped off. And nobody else stood up. So he wasn't, perhaps as strong a warrior as we would have liked, but compared to the other leaders at that time, he was stronger than them. And he was imperfect, but he was obedient. He is recognized in Hebrews as having by faith conquered kingdoms. So he was not perfect, but God honored his obedience, even his imperfect obedience. And so I'm going to take that. I think that's good. Okay, so let's keep going. Certainly, I will go with you, said Deborah. Because of the course you are taking, the honor will not be yours, for the Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman. Ouchie! You know that had to hurt his male ego. Like the guys in Fight Club, that would bother them. It would. And it should. Hoorah! Hoorah! Okay. There Barak summoned Zebulun and Naphtali and 10,000 men and went up under his command. Deborah also went up with him. So the Lord raised Deborah to lead. She was anointed. She was brave. She had strong faith. She knew with metaphysical certitude that the Lord was going to do this thing. So here's this little Jewish woman, right? She's probably my size. She probably has really, really long hair. And like she's, going off with these guys because she was 100% certain. 100%. She was not wondering, I wonder if the Lord's going to do the thing. Like 100% certain. The Lord had given her a word. He had given her a word. She was 100% confident. She was trusting her life and the life of her people on that word, and she believed it. Here's what else she doesn't do, girls. Ladies, married ladies in particular. She doesn't undermine Barak. Despite his timidity, his weakness, she does not steal his army. She doesn't steal his army. She doesn't say, hey guys, look, this guy's lame. He's lame. He didn't want to lead you into the battle. Follow me. She does not do that. She does not do that. She doesn't just ignore him entirely and just go forth. Instead, what does she do? She exhorts and encourages Barak to do what God had called him to do. She encouraged him to do what God had called him to do. So ladies, she helped Barak. So we might be married to someone who is a devoted follower of Jesus who occasionally might feel timid or fearful or not empowered for some reason. Be Deborah. Be Deborah. Don't undermine that person. Support that person. Encourage that person. Be metaphysically certain about what that plan is. If God has told somebody to do something, be confident in that and encourage that person. Be Deborah. Okay. So now we're going to read as we go on. Now the battle approaches. Okay. So now we're going to get into it. Now, this is not Veggie Tales. I just got to tell you, if you've not camped out in Judges, like I hadn't really spent a lot of time there.
It's not fun.
It's a little intense. And there's some intensity at the end of the chapter that we're going to get to. You're going to meet my favorite second girl in the Bible. Okay, now Heber the Kenite had left the other Kenites and the descendants of Hohab, Moses' brother-in-law, and pitched his tent by the great tree in Zanim near Kadesh. When they told Sisera that Barak, son of Abinoam, had gone up to Mount Tabor, Sisera summoned them from Hagarim to the Kishon River, and all his men and his 900 chariots fitted with iron. Then Deborah said to Barak, "Go! This is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. Has not the Lord gone ahead of you?" So Barak went down to Mount Tabor with 10,000 men following him. At Barak's advance, the Lord routed Sisera and all his chariots and army by the sword, and Sisera got down from his chariot and fled on foot. All right, now there's some stuff here. Deborah called for action. Go! Go, she tells him. Go, she cheers for him. Go. This is the day that the Lord had made. Again, she's metaphysically certain. Go. She's cheering him on. Can I just tell you, belief is contagious. Belief is contagious. Enthusiasm is contagious. Amen, right?
Amen.
Hoo-yah! Go! Let's go! Yes, it's contagious. And the Lord was in the fight. This was the Lord's battle. The Lord was in the fight. The Lord, it says, routed Sisera. The battle belonged to the Lord. Barak didn't rout anybody. Deborah didn't rout anybody. The Lord routed. And what happened? Sisera got down from his chariot and he fled on foot. Now this dude was like, he was like the Mac Daddy, warrior back in the day. He would have been like the Osama bin Laden guy, right? Like, Mr. Bad Guy. And he's now scampering off, into the desert on foot. So he has been defrocked, as it were. So exactly how do you think how did the Lord do this? How did the Lord rout Sisera? Well, it tells us in chapter 5. We're not going to go all through chapter 5, but I'm just going to read a few verses from chapter 5 because we get a description of what the Lord did to make this thing happen. And it says, when you, Lord, went out from Seir, when you marched from the land of Edom, the earth shook, the heavens poured, the clouds poured down water. There's a clue, ladies. From the heavens, the stars fought. From their courses, they fought against Sisera. The river Kishon swept them away, the age-old river, the river Kishon. March on, my soul, be strong. Okay, so the God of the universe, he did his thing, right? He was sitting up there and he's like, oh, so I'm just going to reorder time and space, and he realigned the stars, and he did the opposite of parting the Red Sea. He flooded the chariots. And these poor guys, like their chariots are stuck. Those, 900 chariots fitted with iron are now stuck in the mud and they're flooded. And all the men are dead. So that's how the Lord did it. He just moved stars, heaven and earth to do it. It was not a problem for him. It was not a problem. Done. So the entire army is defeated. It goes on to say, Barak pursued the chariots and army as far as Haggeseth-Hagoyim, and all of Sisera's troops fell by the sword. Not a man was left. Sisera, meanwhile, fled on foot to the tent of Jael. This is my other girl. Jael, the wife of Habor and Canite, because there was an alliance between Jabin, king of Hazor, and the family of Heber the Kenite. Okay, so the entire army is defeated, all the men are dead, and Sisera, being the bold warrior that he is fleeing on foot, running away, looking for a place to hide. He's looking for a place to hide. So our girl, Jael, went out to meet Sisera, and she says to him, come, my lord, come right in. Don't be afraid. Mark this. Just mark this. Don't be afraid. So he entered her tent, and she covered him with a blanket. I'm thirsty, he said. Please give me some water. She opened a skin of milk and gave him a drink and covered him up. Standing in the doorway of the tent, he told her, if someone comes by and asks you, is anyone here? Say no. But Jael, Aber's wife, picked up a tent peg and a hammer and went quietly to him while he lay